for a star like Caitlin Clark, although we felt like it would be a good fit, especially with her Midwest roots and her core fan base being there. But they've mishandled it to the point where it doesn't matter. Her fans aren't even showing up to games anymore. You see the agendas that they're putting out with the games. Her fans don't really aren't into all of that. They are into basketball and being entertained in that way. And I think you laid it out beautifully, man. The Indiana Fever have done everything they can to show that they.
A sports talk segment featured commentators discussing a theory that the Indiana Fever's handling of Caitlin Clark has been mismanaged to the point where a trade, potentially to the Los Angeles Sparks, could eventually happen. One commentator argued that the Fever's front office has operated unprofessionally, comparing it to a small family-run business rather than a well-organized professional sports franchise. He suggested the organization has structured its roster and coaching decisions around Stephanie White and Kelsey Mitchell rather than fully building around Clark, pointing to the drafting of Raven Johnson as one example.
To show that they want to build this team around Stephanie White and Kelsey Mitchell. That's why you go and draft a Raven Johnson in the first round. And this team was built to survive and be better without Caitlin. Meanwhile, Jason and I have been saying the job here is to win with Caitlin Clark. They clearly have set it up for otherwise. I would welcome this change to Los Angeles because I think LA is built for stars.
He said he would welcome a move to Los Angeles, arguing the market is better suited to showcase a star of Clark's caliber, and referenced a broader belief that NBA teams should have been able to strategically place top draft prospects in bigger media markets to help grow the league. Discussion turned to a potential trade package, floating the idea of Clark joining a roster that already includes Kate Martin and Cameron Brink, while speculating Indiana might request players such as Kelsey Plum in return. One commentator questioned whether Plum, who has shown a preference for being a primary scoring option, would mesh well next to Clark, while another suggested she could adapt the way she previously played alongside Chelsea Gray in Las Vegas.
To Los Angeles because I think LA is built for stars. And you know what's interesting, Jason? I said before Caitlin Clark was drafted, and this is while the WNBA is still in the depths of hell with no one watching, I said, you know what? If I was in control of the WNBA, there wouldn't be no draft order. I'm placing the stars strategically where it's going to benefit the league, okay? I would have put Caitlin Clark in New York City somewhere. Juju Watkins, I would have forced her to be.
The panel discussed the Sparks roster construction, mentioning players like Nneka Ogwumike, Dearica Hamby, and Azara
Caitlin Clark in New York City somewhere. Juju Watkins, I would have forced her to be in LA. I would have put Angel Reese in Atlanta. All the Black Hollywood down there would rally around her. I would place the stars strategically because at the end of the day, you got to build this league up. That game last night was atrocious to watch. And if that is the product we're going to be getting, I don't know, Jason. I don't know. I might have to start covering MMA fighting. I don't know. I have to figure something out. I'm going to have to figure something out.
Charles.
Another commentator pushed back initially, noting White has historically had success getting less heralded rosters to overperform, but ultimately said he had come around to viewing some decisions, including inconsistent defensive schemes, as difficult to otherwise explain. Commentators also discussed a specific game against the Atlanta Dream, praising Indiana's second-half defensive trapping scheme in the corners as effective, and criticizing Atlanta's stars for appearing unprepared and low energy that night, while debating whether that was simply a product of a young team getting caught off guard by a schedule that doesn't allow extensive game planning for each individual opponent.
Later, I'm going to have to figure something out.
Charles, pick up wherever you want, but I want you to somewhat address, because I didn't fully finish my point on Corey Close. But she's 54 years old, and after winning that national championship, she talked at the Final Four about, like, hey, man, with this NIL and all, I'm not having any fun. This is wearing me out. And a lot of college coaches feel like the chaos in college sports is.
Another panelist noted that team communication around her recovery timeline felt limited throughout the season, with most updates coming through official team statements rather than direct interviews, and referenced reporting from a since-departed reporter who had disclosed additional injury details not previously confirmed by the team. It was also noted that Clark continued making public appearances, including autograph signings, during the period in question, which one commentator suggested may have helped sustain ticket sales, even as her playing status remained uncertain.
Us in college sports is too much, and that's why I think this Corey Close could end up the LA Sparks head coach, is because she's at an age, she proved her point, she won a national championship. Why not move on to the WNBA? Charles, your thoughts on my theory and that?
Well, first of all, yesterday when we had the conversation about Caitlin Clark.
Hold on, we're picking up an echo with Charles. Is there any way to fix that, Luke? Go ahead and talk again.
The segment closed with a commentator suggesting the presence of players with prior ties to Clark, such as Erica Wheeler, on the Sparks roster added to his belief that a move to Los Angeles could be in her future, describing it as a long-developing storyline tied to Clark.
Talk again.
Is it better now?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Well, first of all, when we spoke yesterday, you had me at an unfair advantage. I wasn't aware of the podcast you was listening to with 130 people on it when they was setting the stage. but I will say this, if it's unfathomable that the Dallas Mavericks would trade Luka Doncic to LA, and you talk about Shaq and all these other people going to LA, let me give you one better. And that argument you made about them.
There's a notable take from commentator Jason Whitlock, suggesting Caitlin Clark's WNBA career might not last as long as expected, not due to her on-court performance, but potentially due to how she's being treated by opposing players and the broader league environment, which he speculates could eventually push her towards stepping away from the league entirely. One point worth considering: if she ever did consider playing overseas, the pay structure would look different.
And that argument you made about them trading Caitlin Clark, beyond which I laughed at that when I got off the phone. When you started speaking this morning, I thought, he's on to something when you said LA. And here's why. As big as Caitlin Clark is, it doesn't compare to how big Wayne Gretzky was in Canada. And the Edmonton Oilers shipped him to LA because it was better for the NHL. So if hockey can take Canada's biggest asset.
Base salaries in some international leagues can be considerably higher, but it's less clear whether total compensation, including endorsements, would actually exceed what she's currently earning domestically. It's also worth noting many professional athletes carry international endorsement deals that go largely unreported in domestic media, so her actual overseas commercial value may already be significant without much public attention.
These league pay for Caitlin Clark. We know the salary itself would be much bigger. The difference, though, would be endorsements, right? Now, in certain places, if she went to play ball, some of those other countries would pay her a lot for endorsements too. But would they pay her what she's probably making now? That I do not know. All right? In fact, she's probably got overseas endorsements right now.
Turning to television ratings, Clark has continued setting viewership records across multiple broadcast partners. A recent Fever Sparks game on ION Network drew roughly 724,000 viewers, marking the largest WNBA audience that network.
We don't even know it. Most of these athletes do. A lot of athletes have got overseas endorsements in Japan, China, all these places, and we don't even know that they got them, and their faces everywhere. Even lesser athletes that are, much less substantial on the brand rating than a Caitlin Clark. And first, we're going to start with the ratings because we have a ratings update, and we got two different.
Her most recent nationally televised game on ESPN/ABC drew 1.34 million viewers, putting it among the most watched WNBA broadcasts in over 2 decades. A separate Fever Aces matchup on NBA TV drew 333,000 viewers, marking that network's highest-rated WNBA broadcast since 2010, roughly 14 years.
Networks that Caitlin Clark just broke their WNBA television ratings for that network. Now, both of these networks, especially the NBA TV, look, I wanted to watch her game on NBA TV, and I did not realize Hulu Live doesn't even have it. So I'm not able to watch that game, and I missed the game. So let's flip over here. We'll check this out.
There's some expectation those numbers could soften slightly over time, though likely tied more to the team's win-loss record than to any decline in interest in Clark herself. If the Fever can stay competitive or make a playoff push, the expectation is that these historic ratings numbers would likely hold steady or continue climbing.
We got the ratings. Ion Network. You may be like, Ion Network, where the hell is that? Well, it's on broadcast free antenna. But a lot of people don't even know what Ion is. They've never even heard of it. It's not one of the major three-lettered networks, CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox. But it's on your free antenna. Well, whatever Ion Network is, Caitlin Clark's...
Turning back to Whitlock's broader argument, he drew a comparison to Jackie Robinson, noting that while Robinson also faced serious hostility breaking barriers in his sport, his individual success at the plate wasn't as dependent on his teammates' performance. Basketball, by contrast, requires more cooperation from teammates for a player's individual numbers and team success to align.
Rating for that game destroyed their all-time rating they ever had. By the way, we can compare it to two other games on their network. And if you think Caitlin Clark's not the needle mover, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. So, here we go. WNBA hit viewership highs on 3 different networks over the weekend, not solely because of Caitlin Clark. Even Sports Media Watch can't not take a shot at Clark. It's getting pathetic.
Whitlock pointed to Clark's early scoring averages in the high teens, paired with a notable turnover rate, suggesting she may not reach the individual production levels many expected, while the team's win total could also struggle. His broader worry is that facing difficulty on both fronts, individual production and team success, combined with ongoing physical and verbal hostility from opponents, could eventually wear her down mentally to the point where she considers leaving the league in future years.
If not the 7-figure audience that marked her first week in the league, Clark provided a noticeable boost to the WNBA's lower-profile broadcast partners over the weekend. Friday's Fever Sparks WNBA regular season game averaged a .46, guys, that's big, and 724,000 viewers on Ion, marking easily.
Whitlock also suggested that criticism and resentment toward Clark isn't limited to any single group within the league, and argued that some of the defensive strategies being used against her, like aggressively blitzing her with double teams as soon as she initiates offense, are legitimate basketball strategy rather than personal animosity. Still, he expressed concern that the broader tone of criticism surrounding her has, in his view, gone beyond typical competitive rivalry.
The largest WNBA audience on the Scripps' own Netlet, which began carrying games last season. Here's the other 2 games that were on there. Neither hit 300,000. So the Mystics and the Sun, what, Diana Taurasi's not drawing any ratings? Oh, say it ain't so. 290,000. The Storm and the Lynx, 266,000. She also pulverized in...
Reaction to those comments was mixed, acknowledging that Clark has faced a notably difficult environment this season, while also pointing to standout performances suggesting her individual numbers may end up higher than some project. There was also reference to a separate WNBA analyst's comments suggesting some of the physical treatment Clark receives on the court feels more personal than standard defensive physicality, though that remains a subjective read on the situation rather than something that can be objectively confirmed.
WSL Soccer, 219,000. So she did roughly 2.3 times the amount of viewers as 2 other WNBA games on the same network. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. She's dominant. Her last ESPN/ABC game got 1.34 million. That's going to be right up there as the most watched games in the last 22 years.
Ultimately, the discussion closed by acknowledging the debate remains unresolved. Whether Clark's rookie season struggles and the surrounding scrutiny will meaningfully affect her long-term outlook in the league or whether her competitive drive and the sheer scale of attention she's generating will carry her through it. The ratings data, regardless of team performance, continues to show she's driving unprecedented viewership across multiple networks this season.